Marilyn Monroe had a tough start to life. Some say she's a dumb blonde, but she's not. Marilyn Monroe was born Norma Jean Mortensen on June 1st, 1926, in Los Angeles. She had a tough start to life. A few weeks before she was born, her father left her mother. Marilyn grew up in an orphanage after her mother was hospitalized. In orphanages, Marilyn was sexually harassed and emotionally pressured. At 16, she married James Dougherty, a 21-year-old aircraft mechanic. The abuse she suffered influenced this marriage. Marilyn started working in a factory after she married. A photographer took her photos and helped her get published in a magazine. This is how Marilyn's modeling career began. In 1960, Marilyn Monroe divorced Arthur Miller and kept working. She played Amanda Dell in the film Let's Make Love, directed by George Cukor. In 1961, she acted with Clark Gable in the Western movie The Misfits. She got great reviews for her performance in a genre she wasn't used to. This movie showed she was ambitious and talented. This movie was Marilyn's last completed film. Her life as a model, which began with the photographer she met at the factory where she worked, was the first time that Marilyn's platinum blonde hair was loved. Her hair, blonde as a child, turned brown as she grew up. For this reason, she always dyed her hair platinum blonde, and it became a color she identified with. With the start of her modeling life, her fame spread immediately. After 4 years of her first marriage, she joined the modeling agency called The Blue Book and started modeling. At the same time, she attended acting and singing classes, cut her hair short, and dyed it platinum blonde. These were the first steps that turned Norma Jean into Marilyn Monroe. After her life as a model, she soon began to appear in films. Marilyn, who started acting straight after modeling, appeared in 2 films called Scudda Hay and Dangerous Years. She was not successful in these first films, but it was during these years that she became known as Marilyn Monroe. Her star began to shine in the 1950s. She appeared in a few short films and then took on more serious roles. Her talent was not recognized by the film she appeared in, but her beauty was used by the film industry to achieve box office success. After her first 2 films, RKO executives used Marilyn's potential in Fritz Lang's Night of the Living Dead. Due to the success of the film, the same tactic was used to cast Marilyn in the comedy film Monkey Business. Thanks to the success of these 2 films, critics began to take Marilyn Monroe into consideration. In 1953, she was able to achieve the fame she wanted thanks to the film Niagara, in which she played a woman who tried to kill her husband. Marilyn Monroe entered the film industry not because of her talent, but because of her beauty and the silly blonde roles she played. Of course, Marilyn was very uncomfortable with the situation. "Please don't make me look like a fool," she said. She studied at the Actors Studio for 7 years because she wanted to move up in her film career and have real success. At a time when she was just beginning to become popular, she wisely managed to overcome her once sexy poses that would have got her into trouble. After the news broke, Marilyn told the press that she had posed naked because she was broke and hungry. She managed to save her career, which would have ended before it began. These poses were later published in the first issue of Playboy magazine. She had great success with her films Gentlemen Prefer Blondes and How to Marry a Millionaire. This was the beginning of her career as an A-list actress. In 1954, she married baseball player Joe DiMaggio for the second time. In the same year, she appeared in the film The 7-Year Itch. With this film, she was able to show how successful she was as an actress in comedies. But the same success was not reflected in her marriage, and she divorced 8 months later. During her training at the Actors Studio, she met Arthur Miller. They got married in 1956. In the meantime, she began to appear in dramatic films, but the public did not want to see her in these roles. During this period, she played the role of lounge singer Sherry in the first film directed by Joshua Logan, Bus Stop. She was nominated for a Golden Globe Award for this role. She went on to win the Italian David di Donatello and the French Crystal Star Awards, which are equivalent to the Oscar. Some Like It Hot. The film for which Marilyn Monroe is most remembered was made in 1959. Working with names like Tony Curtis and Jack Lemmon, Marilyn had a good harmony with this duo. It was the most popular comedy film for Marilyn, who was very popular for her role as Sugar Cane, and it was her peak. Marilyn won the Golden Globe Award for this film. But in the meantime, Marilyn's inner world began to erupt. She began arriving late on set, forgetting her lines, and refusing to leave her room, which led to a major conflict with director Billy Wilder. She also found out she was pregnant during filming. However, she miscarried after the film was completed. In 1960, Marilyn Monroe, who was also divorced from Arthur Miller, continued filming. She played the role of Amanda Dell in the film Let's Make Love, directed by George Cukor. In 1961, she co-starred with Clark Gable in the western The Misfits. Although it was a genre she was not used to, she managed to get full marks from the critics for her performance. With this film, she showed how ambitious and talented she was as an actress. Another special feature of this film is that it was Marilyn's last completed film. The death of Marilyn Monroe. When the year 1962 came, she would again play the role of Ellen Arden in the film Something's Got to Give, directed by George Cukor, in which she would star with names such as Dean Martin and Sid Charisse. But in the meantime, she was not going to the sets with excuses because of her health problems. This film featured Marilyn Monroe's first nude scenes. It was also during this time that rumors of a love affair between her and John F. Kennedy began to circulate. She didn't go to the set because she was ill, but she did go to Kennedy's birthday party to sing. For this reason, the production company and director Cukor removed Marilyn Monroe from the cast. She was later reinstated through her own efforts and the insistence of her co-star Dean Martin. In the same year, the production company was shooting the film Cleopatra in Rome, starring Elizabeth Taylor. The company did not show Monroe the tolerance it had shown Taylor and did not care about her illness. For this reason, the filming of the film was interrupted. The filming was about to start again, but on the 5th of August, 1962, Marilyn Monroe, 36 years old, died in her bedroom. Marilyn Monroe's death shocked the world. The autopsy performed after her death ruled the cause of death as suicide, possibly due to a high dose of barbiturates. However, the inadequacy of the evidence at the scene, the disappearance of the tissues taken during the autopsy, and the conflicting testimony of all the eyewitnesses, especially her housekeeper, led to the view that the cause of death could be murder. Conspiracy theories were put forward that the Kennedy family were responsible for the murder. Marilyn Monroe's previous suicide attempts made her death look like a suicide. However, the exact cause has never been established. Marilyn Monroe, who had a life full of pain from an early age, always ended badly in marriage. Her bad marriages and being known as the dumb blonde always led her to loneliness. She was able to organize her life with the sleeping pills she took. Despite all the painful events she experienced, she had a false smile on her face in her bright and enviable life. With her professionalism and success, she was careful not to reflect any of her problems in her films. She managed to become one of the unforgettable names in the history of cinema.